Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Monday, the 24th of February. Hope you had a good weekend. I'm Stephen Ridgway. There is a vulnerability in Exim mail transfer subsystem, system, whatever it's called. I don't know, what is it called? Agent. It's an agent, isn't it? It's an MTA Exim. Good start to the week, eh? Engage brain. Right, so there is a vulnerability. Now, Exim, for those who have been involved in mail SMTP for any length of time, will be very well aware. Exim is probably the most commonly used mail transfer agent in the world. It's an Linux, originates, I believe, from the Linux or Unix world. It does what it says on the tin, right? It moves your mail about. It has a vulnerability which is based around a SQL injection flaw that allows attackers to compromise email systems and manipulate underlying databases. Well, okay. The vulnerability is tracked as CVE 2025-26794, and there is a decent write-up in GB Hackers that we will link to this briefing. However, it appears that there is a vulnerability in the instance of SQL, the SQLite that Exim can use, that through a combination of configuration parameters exposes that vulnerability to potentially to external attackers. Given the fact that mail transfer agents are doing exactly that, they're moving mail around, this stuff is generally accessible on the internet. There is a patch available, so the vulnerable version is Exim 4.9.8. If it's been compiled with SQLite support. There are a couple of other parameters that need to be set, configuration parameters that need to be set in order to be vulnerable to this particular attack. One is that the ETRN configuration must accept ACL SMTP ETRN. The default setting is deny. And there is the setting for SMTP ETRN serialize. That parameter must remain at its default true value rather than having been reconfigured to false. So it's not that every instance of Exim 4.9.8 is actually going to be vulnerable. There are some conditions. However, it is fairly serious if you do particularly use these configurations. So bearing in mind that most organizations probably just use pretty default stuff in Exim. However, if you are in more sophisticated organizations, it may well be that you have made adjustments and configuration changes to Exim, often to support legacy mail applications or legacy mail environments. So the best thing you can do is apply the patch. There is a patch available, 4.98.1, which was released within a couple of days of it was released within 72 hours, actually, of the confirmation of the vulnerability. If you want to know some mitigation strategies, there are some very good ones in the article, which I recommend you have a look at, including ways to check how your version of Exim has been compiled. So given the fact that I think it's something like 60% of internet-facing mail servers run Exim, this is one that you would very strongly recommend you have a look at and make sure that in your particular environment you are okay. Also, in the arena of vulnerabilities and exploits, the Parallels desktop has got a 0-day vulnerability which is being exploited at the moment. So Parallels is a very common virtualization environment for Macs. It's kind of like well, more common, I guess, is VirtualBox, but Parallels has been around for a very long time. It allows you to run other operating systems in a similar way to the way that you can with VirtualBox. Well, you can do it with Parallels. So Parallels, if you're in the Mac world, Parallels is out there. I think it runs on other operating systems as well. Don't know, never tried it on anything other than Macs. It's very good, very sophisticated. However, it does have a vulnerability. This particular one is tracked as CVE 2024 34331. It is... Sorry, I slightly got that wrong. Let me just double check that. Yeah, no, that's it. Yep. So there have been patches for this out in the past. However, there are exploits now based around this particular vulnerability chain. Recommend you have a read of the article again, GB Hackers. Some good stuff here, including things which I think it would be very good to monitor for through your security visibility tooling or your SIEM or whatever you use. Some recommended mitigations, including restricting Parallels desktop privileges and monitoring file system activity, which makes a lot of sense. So if you're using Parallels, have a check. Make sure you are on a version which does not have vulnerability, a version which has been patched, because as always, these things, well, especially now that there are exploits available, the exploits allow access to underlying device with root privileges. Proof of concept is available. A little bit of good news. Google Cloud has introduced quantum-safe digital signatures in its key management system. We've been following not avidly, but we've been following developments in the cryptography world as the cryptographers prepare for a quantum world. And yeah, so we've seen that it's no longer hypothetical as to whether quantum computing can break current encryption algorithms. It definitely can. However, there are quantum computing proof algorithms being developed, and it looks like Google has started to implement these things into the real world. So this stuff is very far from being floating around in ivory towers and labs and so on and so forth. It is kind of all out there now. So if you are interested in this, if you are concerned about your keys being compromised through decryption using quantum computing, this is probably something that you've been waiting for a while. So have a read of the article, even if it's just for interest. Be aware that this stuff is coming. It is out there. It is real. Don't kick it into the long grass just yet, because this stuff is going to become more important, and as is the way with these things. Once we got to this point, the knowledge about this and sort of the uptake of both the exploits and the mitigations is going to be more rapid than most people would expect, in my personal opinion anyway. And then finally from me, don't normally talk about tooling. It's just because there's so much kicking around out there. I remember 5 or 6 years ago doing a talk around the fact that, if you were a purchasing manager needing cybersecurity, there were in excess of 2,000 potential tools and services that you could purchase. Argument being, how on earth is a purchasing manager supposed to know what all of this stuff actually works to address their risks in their environment? But sometimes there are tools that crop up that you look at and go, oh, actually, that's kind of cool. That probably involves, requires a little bit more playing before we park it in the bucket of it probably works for someone, don't know quite who yet. So there's a misconfiguration mapper. It's an open source tool that can be used to uncover security misconfigurations. It's known as Misconfig Mapper. It's an open source command line tool written in Golang, and it discovers and enumerates instances of services in your organization and performs large-scale detections and misconfiguration assessments. Leverages customizable templates and so on and so forth. So it's kind of cool. Discovering misconfigurations is one of the hardest parts of running. Well, it's that crossover between IT infrastructure and engineering management and security management, isn't it? So this particular mapper, it can look at things like Atlassian, Jenkins, GitLab, popular frameworks like PHP, Laravel. It's a project that's led by a company called Integrity. I don't know how you pronounce it, with bug bounty platform, community backed. So, as I said, we don't normally, we're not, and it isn't a plug, it's just bring it to your attention. Might be worth having a look. I've kicked it over to the engineering team here at TSC, who undoubtedly will have a play with it because they're cool guys and they like to play with open source software, especially if it might actually be useful. Right, so that's enough from me for a Monday morning, a very rainy Monday morning in Sussex. Hope you had a good week.